in the European case, the second big challenge was the move to what we call the Brusselisation of foreign policy. Because for a long time, the European Union was about domestic policy. It was about the international effects of domestic policy. But soon, well, in fact not soon, I mean this goes back to 1980, there was the emergence of what we now call the Common Foreign and Security Policy. It used to be called the European Political Cooperation. And in that, it was decided, and particularly it was decided in Maastricht, and then subsequently in the Amsterdam and the Nice treaties, that these foreign policy issues would actually also be dealt with in Brussels. It would be no longer the political director flying out from a national capital and seeing his opposite numbers in Brussels, but they set up a new department within their embassies, their permanent representations, to deal with foreign policy. So every week the committee concerned, the Political and Security Committee, or as the French call it, the COPS, the Comité Politique et de Sécurité, meets at least one day a week, usually twice, and sometimes 3 times if there's a crisis going on. And that locus of decision making has now moved to Brussels, which means also the reflex for those people is to think there's an answer in Brussels to this, we'll discuss it in Brussels, rather than purely nationally. This was important for small countries because don't forget that the small countries didn't have embassies in every country of the world. They only had, if you take a country like even Denmark and Sweden, they don't have even a third of the embassies that a country like France, or Italy, Germany, or the United Kingdom has. So they relied anyway on others to give them information about the countries they had to discuss in Brussels in the Common Foreign and Security Policy framework. So again, people were asking, well, what is this foreign policy then? It's something that 28 member states couldn't do on their own because they're too small. But in addition, even when they try to do it in a coordinated way, it's very difficult for them to do that because they don't have the resources to do it. Basically, what I would argue is that all of this shows that we were coming to the end of what was known as the Westphalian system, based on the Treaty of Westphalia, which we have no time to discuss now, but I would suggest that you look it up and see what Westphalia actually was about. What certainly the Westphalian system was the creation of a situation of international relations where there was state sovereignty, where the rule was that you couldn't interfere in other countries' business. Later, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Practice was a list of rules that all diplomats had to follow. It told you what to do and how to do it in diplomatic interaction. And then later, with the responsibility to protect, with multinational firms, often with larger budgets than small states, with financial capitalists escaping from state control, the huge size of the multilateral organizations, the multinational organizations, and the growth of the importance of United Nations agencies all meant that there was a different set of rules emerging, even if it wasn't official. So the European Union needed really to start thinking in terms of a proper response to all those challenges. And that was why the External Action Service was set up. You will remember that the External Action Service was called the European Diplomatic Service in the Convention, the treaty, the European Union Treaty that preceded Lisbon and was rejected by the French and the Dutch. So that the External Action Service is the name it was given in order not to call it a diplomatic service, because member states were rather reluctant to do that. So I'm going to end there, having introduced the European External Action Service, and say that with the creation of the External Action Service, European governance has changed in a very important respect, and this is a process that will continue. It will continue from crisis to crisis. When everything is going smoothly, there's no need to make new rules, but when things aren't smooth and the crisis has to be dealt with, then you need new rules. Gradually, I think you will find that more and more slips to Brussels. That would be my prediction at least, but facts will tell you what really happens on the ground. Thanks for listening.